Not all girls who are abandoned need to be saved by an infatuated man. When I heard Jason say, "When I think of Evelyn's hands touching so much blood, I feel disgusted," I knew he fell in love with the new female college intern in the company. I handed over the divorce agreement calmly, because my life has never been just about him. But later, because he couldn't find me, Jason went crazy. I was a little tired today and not in the mood. Jason pulled my hand down and turned his back to me. Today is my ovulation period, and it is also the day we plan to have a child, but now he rejected me. Maybe he felt that his behavior was a bit excessive. Jason turned around and hugged me in his arms, kissed my forehead. "Good boy, go to sleep." Feeling the man's even breathing, I knew there was a problem between us. So the next day, I deliberately got off work early from the hospital and booked a romantic candlelight dinner to give Jason a surprise. But before entering the door, I heard his conversation with his good brother Derek. I really loved Evelyn before, and I was so fascinated by her. But now, when I think about how much blood her hands have touched, I feel disgusted. In the final analysis, I'm just tired of it. Derek said casually. Jason didn't deny it. "So you touched that little secretary? Her name is Luna, right?" This time Jason didn't speak, and was silent for a long time. "Really? Are you serious?" Jason said calmly, "Almost. I advise you to hold back. You used to like Evelyn so much that the brothers saw it. You would even give up your life for her. Don't go too far and kill yourself. No one can help you if you chase your wife to the crematorium." Jason seemed to sneer. "A woman's 10 years of youth, do you think she is willing to give it up?" Jason's words made me cold all over, as if I fell into an ice cellar, thinking of his continuous rejections these days. It turns out that he is not really tired, but just thinks I am disgusting. These two words pierced my heart like a needle, and it hurt so much that I couldn't breathe. He knew how precious a woman's 10 years of youth were, but he used it as a bargaining chip to hurt me. I remember the name Luna. She was a new intern recruited by Jason's company. I still remember the admiration Jason showed when he first mentioned her. He told me that Luna lost to other competitors in the interview, but the girl refused to admit defeat and kept begging the interviewer to give her another chance, and even almost knelt down in tears. This kind of perseverance is something that many young people today don't have. In the end, Jason felt sorry for her and eliminated the better candidates. At that time, I couldn't help but frown after hearing this. Isn't this moral kidnapping? Interviews are judged on ability, not on pity. Doing this is unfair to other interviewees. Jason rarely frowned at me. "How can you be so cold-blooded as a doctor? You have no sympathy at all? It's my fault that I protected you too well before." I didn't doubt myself because of his accusation, and I still argued with him. Because of this incident, we had a cold war all night. Later, Jason came to coax me humbly, and we reconciled. But I still remember this name. I didn't expect that she has become Jason's personal secretary now. It was also from that time that Jason stopped sharing company matters with me. Everyone has a desire to share. If he doesn't share with you, he is sharing with others. It turns out that all changes have traces. At night, I lay down early and felt the mattress behind me sink. The man's cold hand wrapped around my waist. I resisted the urge to vomit and grabbed Jason's hand that was about to reach into my clothes. The voice was cold. "I don't feel well." Jason paused. I could feel that he was in the mood, and it would be uncomfortable to resist. But he didn't force me after all. He covered me with the quilt considerately and went to the bathroom to solve it himself. He also brought his phone with him. I don't know since when, Jason always takes his phone with him when he goes to the bathroom. After a while, I received a friend request on my phone, and the profile picture turned out to be Luna. I took a deep breath and accepted the request. Soon a screenshot was sent to me. It was a chat record between her and Jason, and the time showed that Jason had just entered the bathroom. Luna sent Jason a hotel name and room number. "Tell him, I don't ask you to divorce, I just want to give my first time to the man I love the most." Jason only replied with 2 words, "Wait for me." Jason only replied with 2 words, "Wait for me." Just after reading it, Jason came out of the bathroom. "Wife, something happened at the company and I need to deal with it." He used to use this excuse to go out in the middle of the night. Because of trust, I never asked. Now think about it, is it always to see Luna? "I'll go with you." Jason was stunned for a moment, then smiled gently and touched my head. "Aren't you feeling uncomfortable? Don't toss and turn, I will feel bad if you hurt your body. Don't worry, I will be back soon." After that, he ignored me and turned to go out. I drove quietly behind him. Jason drove very fast, and I almost lost him several times. Luna was waiting for him at the door of the hotel. The two hugged and kissed each other as soon as they met, like a couple who have been patient for a long time. Holding back the bitterness in my heart, I took out my phone to take pictures. I even recorded a video of more than 10 seconds. I watched the two of them walk into the hotel. After calming down in the car for a while, I called Professor Lee, my former graduate advisor. He is now abroad, and it is morning. The call was connected. "Professor, do you need help for your overseas projects now?" Professor Lee was stunned for a moment, and then said in a pleasant tone, "Have you thought about it? If it is you, we need you at any time." When I graduated from graduate school, Professor Lee wanted me to go abroad with him to participate in the project. That was a very rare opportunity for me, but for Jason, I chose to stay. Over the years, Professor Lee has never given up lobbying me, but I rejected it all. In fact, I wanted to go in my heart. Now, I can finally have no scruples. I don't regret my original choice. At that time, Evelyn wanted to pursue love. Now Evelyn has decided to fulfill her dream. These are all decisions I made according to my heart. Finally, Professor Lee and I decided to go there in about a month. When I got home, I took out the wine from the wine cabinet and started to pour one glass after another into my mouth. In 1 month, I can leave completely. My best friend Mia sent me a WeChat message. "How is it? A candlelight dinner is romantic, right?" I said, "Jason loves you so much, if you try to please him a little, you will definitely win him over." Everyone says Jason loves me, and I used to think so too. It turns out that men can deceive everyone if they want to pretend to love. I looked up and saw the ring on my ring finger, and I laughed at myself. This was bought for me by Jason after 3 months of delivery. At that time, he and his friends had just started a business, and all their money was invested in the new company. In order to buy me a decent ring, he worked in the company during the day and worked part-time as a deliverman at night. He slept less than 3 hours a day. Once I was so sleepy that I dozed off while driving an electric car, and fell on the road with the car. Fortunately, a passing car braked in time, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. When I rushed to the hospital, his hands and feet were covered in blood, and his clothes were stained red with blood. Seeing me coming, Jason immediately hid his injured hand behind his back. With red eyes, I asked him why he did this. He clumsily wiped away my tears. "Silly, of course I want to marry you home as soon as possible. Such a beautiful girl, what if she is taken away? She is already mine, I can't bear to give her up." Later, we made a lot of money and our financial situation improved. But I have been wearing this ring. Jason said he would change me to a bigger diamond ring, but I refused. It is more precious to me than any diamond ring. Thinking of Jason's nervous look when he proposed to me, I took off the ring and put it on the dining table. The words at that time are still ringing in my ears. But people are no longer the same as they were then. I don't need this ring anymore. In the middle of the night, Jason sent a message. "Wife, the company's problems are more troublesome. I may not be able to go back today. You don't have to wait for me. Have a good rest. I am with Afeng." It seems that Derek has been informed, and the two are really good brothers. I didn't reply. Because I drank too much, I fell asleep directly on the sofa. In the dream, it was the first time I saw Jason. At that time, he and I were both freshmen. During the military training, the first thing Jason said when he saw me was, "Classmate, you are so pretty." What an old-fashioned way to pick up a girl. Because of this sentence, he was ridiculed by his roommates for a whole year. Later, he often chatted with me on WeChat. Although we were not in the same major, I always ran into him on the road. There were many people chasing me in college, and I didn't have any feelings for him at first. But I was gradually moved by his sincerity and enthusiasm. After we got together, Jason took even more care of me. Everyone around me envied me for having such a caring boyfriend. We studied from undergraduate to graduate school together. After I graduated from graduate school, Jason proposed to me. I agreed without hesitation. Jason hugged me tightly, his eyes red with joy, and choked up, "Evelyn, believe me, I will definitely give you a good life and will never let you lose." Now, I have lost miserably, but I can only accept the defeat. The next day, I was awakened by the fixed alarm clock on my mobile phone, and the pillow was wet with tears. Jason didn't come back all night. I told myself in my heart that this was the last time I cried for him. Then I got up and went to the bathroom to wash up and get ready to go to work. Although I decided to resign, I had an outpatient clinic today and a medical report to write, so I couldn't ask for leave. This is the world of adults. No matter how sad you are, you can't forget about work. Before going to work, I called a lawyer friend I knew and consulted about divorce-related matters. There was no bloody entanglement or complaints. There was no need for some infatuated man to suddenly appear to save me and slap Jason in the face. My life has never been just Jason. I have my own way. Divorce is the only ending I can think of for the two of us. I submitted my resignation report in the morning and went to work. There was too much work and the feeling of being busy made me forget about Jason temporarily. But I didn't expect that before I went to find Jason, he took the initiative to come to the hospital. At that time, I was about to take the information to the ward to find the patient's family, but I saw a familiar figure not far away. It was Jason, and he was still holding Luna, who was covered with tears, tightly in his hand. The two ran to the cardiovascular department anxiously. That ward was exactly where I was going. It turned out that Luna's mother was sick. Seeing her mother's haggard face, Luna cried so hard that she couldn't stand up beside the bed. Jason patted her gently and comforted her gently. Luna mom said that she had no regrets in her life, but she was only worried that if she left, her daughter would suffer alone in the world without anyone to take care of her. I couldn't help but raise my eyebrows, because the patient I was looking for was Luna Mom. In my impression, her illness was not that serious. Hearing this, Luna immediately told her mother that she had a boyfriend and asked her not to worry. When Luna Mom asked who it was, Luna turned her head and cast a look of help to Jason. Jason immediately hugged Luna's waist, his expression natural. "Auntie, I am Luna's boyfriend. Don't worry about your recovery. I will take care of Luna for you." After saying that, he looked at Luna lovingly. Luna Mom still didn't believe it, and insisted that the two kiss in front of her before she was willing to treat the disease properly. This time, Jason looked embarrassed and couldn't help looking around. Luna pulled his shirt with her hands, her face full of pleading. Jason finally couldn't refuse, and lowered his head to kiss him. I walked into the ward with a blank expression and took photos with my mobile phone. Since we have decided to divorce, it is good to have more evidence on the phone. Jason opened his eyes and saw me, and pushed Luna away vigorously. His face was pale, and there was an unprecedented anxiety and fear in his eyes. "Evelyn?" Luna's face, which was originally a little complaining, also changed when she heard my name. She looked at me in horror. They were all afraid that I would make a mess in public. And I just said lightly, "Family members of the patient in bed 03 come and sign the information." After that, he turned and left the ward. Jason and Luna followed closely. I took the information for Luna to fill out. "Your mother just has cardiovascular blockage, and she will have a stent implantation surgery tomorrow. Normally, she can be discharged 3 days after the operation. I told her yesterday." Hearing this, Luna's hand holding the pen trembled, and she looked at Jason guiltily. Jason pursed his lips. "Why are you in this hospital?" "I transferred here a year ago." Jason choked up and couldn't say anything else. His wife changed jobs more than a year ago, but her husband still didn't know. This shows how careless he was. Luna handed me the information she had written. When I saw the address on it, I paused. Because the address she filled in was the first house Jason and I lived in when we lived together. Jason bought it at the time and wrote my name on it. He told me, "This is where all our good memories are. From now on, you will be the only owner of this house. No woman is allowed to come in unless you agree." Jason seemed to have noticed it as well, and was about to explain when Luna beat him to it. "Sister Evelyn, I'm sorry, my landlord wanted to sell the house and kicked me out. Jason couldn't bear to see me homeless, so he gave me the key to the house. Don't blame Jason, blame me." I looked up at Luna's touching eyes. It's true that youth can easily make people feel distressed. "How long have you been living here?" Luna was stunned, as if she didn't expect me to be so calm. Two months. "Very good, Miss Shin should also know that this house is in my name alone. The rent is $8,000 per month according to the current market price. Please call me in the next 2 days. Also, I'm planning to sell my house in a few days, so please move out as soon as possible." Luna looked at Jason aggrievedly, but found that Jason was just staring at me. "Of course, if Miss Shin doesn't have money, she can find someone else to give it to me. As long as I get the money, I don't care where it comes from." Jason frowned and gritted his teeth. "Evelyn, is this fun? It's really meaningless, so when you have time, let's talk about divorce." I clearly saw the joy on Luna's face when she heard about divorce. But Jason's face darkened. "Do you have to do this? I just helped and kissed you, but you have to make a big deal out of it." "Really? Then can I kiss other men casually just to help? You dare? Ha, hypocritical dog." I sneered. It seems that Jason didn't have a good time in the hotel last night. "It doesn't matter, I will move out today, and you can go home to play." Jason was stunned, his voice was a little hoarse. "You know everything?" I didn't answer. "I will let the lawyer draft the divorce agreement as soon as possible and give it to you." I was about to leave when Jason grabbed my hand. Only then did he realize that I didn't have a wedding ring on my hand. "Evelyn, are you serious?" I pulled my hand away and left. I wasn't going to argue with him in the hospital. "We have nothing to say now except divorce." Jason's exasperated voice came from behind me. "Evelyn, don't regret it. I won't put myself in a difficult position to beg you this time. You are not in the madam's seat. There are many people who want to sit there. It turns out that when people are speechless, they really want to laugh." He was the one who cheated, but he could question me so confidently. I really don't know where he got the confidence from. In the evening, my good colleagues held a farewell party for me at KTV. Everyone was reluctant to let me go when they heard I was leaving, but knowing I had a better future, they were all really happy for me. When I came back from the bathroom, I saw Jason, who was in the next box with a few friends. It sounded like they were talking about me. "Jason, your sister-in-law won't really divorce you this time, will she? If you ask me, it's all because of spoiling. My wife made a scene before, but now she's obedient, isn't she? So women can't be spoiled. If it were me, I would leave her alone, and if she wants a divorce, she can go along. Anyway, there's still a 30-day cooling-off period, and when she knows we don't have to have her, she'll naturally be scared. Can you be the same as Jason?" Jason is a famous wife-loving maniac. I know all these people's wives. Either they play with their own, or they use their husband's money to secretly support a little milk dog outside. Either for the sake of the children, she treats her husband as a long-term meal ticket. If she occupies the position of the main wife, she can strive for the best interests of the children. Nowadays, no girl is stupid, and it is impossible for her to pay for a scumbag in vain. Jason has been drinking with a gloomy face. When others secretly looked at his face, he suddenly said, after so many years, it's time to teach her a lesson. Hearing Jason's words, the atmosphere in the box became lively again. Sister-in-law? Why are you here? Are you here to see Jason? Come in, Jason is also inside. Before I could react, I was pushed into the box by Jason's brother. When Jason saw me, his brows relaxed instantly, and his hand holding the wine glass slowly relaxed. But he still had a stern face and didn't look at me. It was then that I realized that other men had one or two female companions to drink with, but Jason didn't. Derek immediately clarified, Sister-in-law, don't get me wrong, these female companions are all ours and have nothing to do with Jason. Sister-in-law, please take a seat. Who else would dare to sit next to Jason except you? I don't know when Jason had moved the coat next to him away, leaving a seat for me to sit down. Derek also started to clear the room and called his female companions out. I hurriedly stopped him. No, I'm here with my colleagues and I want to go back. Besides, Jason and I are getting divorced. These things have nothing to do with me. Jason interrupted me before I could finish my sentence. He seemed to not want to hear the word divorce. Evelyn, have you had enough fun? There should be a limit to joking. I looked straight at Jason. I'm not joking. Do you remember what I said when you got drunk in KTV for the first time? I'm serious. Jason's face changed when he heard that, and he obviously remembered it too. Jason was drunk at that time, and mistook other girls for me, and almost kissed them, but luckily I arrived in time. At that time, I told Jason, if you are dirty, I don't want you anymore. As soon as I walked to the door, I heard the sound of a glass smashing behind me. It was Jason who smashed the glass in his hand. Evelyn, you want a divorce, right? I'll help you, and we'll meet at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. Okay. This is exactly what I want. After the party in the evening, I went back to Jason's house to pack up. I had asked Mia to help me rent a house near her house. Anyway, I wouldn't live there for long. When I was leaving with my suitcase, I happened to meet Luna coming back with the drunk Jason. When our eyes met, Luna had a proud look on her face. She put Jason on the sofa. Just as she was about to get up, Jason hugged her. Wife, I feel so bad, hug me. The harder Luna struggled, the tighter Jason hugged her. Wife, don't leave me. Luna glanced at me and blushed. Jason, let me go first, don't do this, there are others. I was not interested in watching the two flirting, so I took my suitcase and left. The next day, I went through the divorce with Jason with the divorce agreement drafted by the lawyer. The property was divided equally, and the whole process was smooth. When we came out, Jason said, Evelyn, are you frustrated now? Do you think I will beg you humbly like before? People's patience is limited. I hope you know that I will not indulge your unreasonable behavior every time. I didn't answer. I looked at the divorce agreement in my hand and raised my mouth slightly. In another 30 days, I will have nothing to do with Jason. Jason frowned. I will find another place for Luna to live in the next 2 days. I will ask my assistant to call you about her rent later. I nodded. Okay, I have packed up your things. You can throw away the rest. Don't forget to come here again in 30 days. I turned around and prepared to leave. I nodded. Okay, I have packed up your things. You can throw away the... I was drunk and she happened to be on the phone. The waiter heard it and called her over. Jason, you don't have to explain so much to me. This is your private matter. Jason's face became even uglier. The next day, I boarded a plane to Shanghai. Professor Lee had a 5-day academic forum in Shanghai, and he didn't have time to go, so he asked me to attend on his behalf. I also wanted to go out and relax, so I agreed. In these 5 days, I learned a lot and met many industry leaders. I had a fulfilling life and never thought of Jason once. You see, love is not that important to a person. There are many more meaningful things in life waiting for me to do. I went to work at the hospital the next day after I came back. I saw Jason standing not far away just after get off work, leaning against a black Maybach, holding a cigarette. His clothes were messy and his face was haggard. A male colleague who was leaving get off work with me came to my ear and whispered, "This guy has been waiting here for several days. I heard that he asked the guard about you and knew that you didn't go to work, so he waited outside every day." After saying that, he looked at me worriedly and asked if I needed help. I shook my head to indicate no, and just as I said goodbye to him, I saw Jason walking towards me. When he got closer, I found that his eyes were full of red bloodshot, and it was obvious that he hadn't slept for many days. There were still a lot of stubble on his face, which was almost impossible for him who used to have a mild obsession with cleanliness. Dr. Jiang is really amazing, he found the next target so quickly. I just don't know how people will react when they know you have an ex-husband who has been with you for 10 years. Jason, maybe 10 years is a long time for you, but for me, 10 years is nothing. Jason was a little frustrated because he didn't get the result he wanted. Evelyn, do you think that during these few days of disappearance, you can see me worrying and going crazy for you? I'm sorry to disappoint you. I haven't called you once in the past few days. You can ask your friends. I didn't even ask them where you went. So what are you doing here now? Jason was stumped by my question, and he didn't seem to have figured out why he came here. After a long while, he said, you changed the key to that house, so I can't get in. Jason was talking about the house where Luna lived before, and it seemed that Jason had been there in the past few days. I nodded, yes, that's my house, and I'm going to sell it. To prevent irrelevant people from entering again, I changed the lock. Jason couldn't believe it. Are you really going to sell it? Are you willing to do so? What's there to be reluctant about? There's no point in keeping it. The agent will bring people to see the house in a few days. If you have something to take, you can go there at that time. When Jason heard me say it was useless, his eyes instantly turned red, and hurt flashed in his eyes. In the past, whenever Jason and I quarreled, as long as he showed such an expression, I would lose all my anger and run to coax him with a smile. But now things have changed. He is not the Jason who will give everything for me, and I am not the Evelyn who believes in him wholeheartedly. His tears can flow for me or for other women. I raised my foot to leave, but Jason didn't seem to want me to leave like this, and hurriedly said, there is one more thing, I don't have time to get the divorce certificate later, so I have to reschedule it. Finally seeing an expression other than indifference on my face, Jason smiled with satisfaction. Jason, don't joke like that. No matter what happens, you must show up at the door of the Civil Affairs Bureau. I don't have that much time to spend with you. After all, I have promised Professor Lee that I will go abroad after getting the divorce certificate in a month. I don't want us to end up suing. Jason's smile froze. Do you really want a divorce? Isn't that what you want? This way he can be with Luna openly. Jason didn't deny, let's talk about it when the time comes. Anyway, I'm not sure about my time. Looking at my angry expression with satisfaction, Jason drove away. Back home, I took 2 bottles of wine to Mia's house. Jason is a jerk. Mia put down the wine glass heavily and scolded Jason angrily. If you know he is such a person, I shouldn't have helped him when he proposed to you. I continued to pour wine into the glasses of both of them, smiling and shaking my head. Who can predict the future? No matter how passionately you love at the beginning, in the end, you still have to rely on your conscience. I am just glad that I found out not too late, and everything is still in time. I heard that during the 5 days you were gone, Jason didn't even return to the office. He handed over all the tasks to Derek. He squatted outside the hospital every day waiting for you. You disappeared for 5 days and that's it. If you really went abroad, wouldn't he go crazy? Mia's tone was a bit gloating, but I didn't care at all how Jason would deal with my departure. Now my mind is full of how to help Professor Lee with the experiment after going abroad, and I am worried that Jason will stand me up on the day of getting the marriage certificate. The rest is not within my consideration. Mia picked up the wine and clinked it with me. Okay, our Jiangjia is a career-minded woman. I love her. The next day after I woke up from my drunken stupor, I received a call from the agent. He told me that the house had found a buyer, who paid in full without bargaining. I was very happy. Finally, there was good news. I asked the agent to help me with the transfer procedures as soon as possible. In the following days, I was busy with the hospital handover and the overseas travel. Jason would call me occasionally. He would ask boring questions like where the clothes and ties were. I stopped answering the phone after so many times. If I didn't have to get the divorce certificate, I would have blocked him immediately. Later, Derek came to me once and told me that Luna had been fired by Jason. He also said that Jason was in a bad state recently. He got drunk and got into a fight with others yesterday. I really didn't like him as a brother. I just said indifferently, if you are injured, go to the hospital. It's useless to tell me. I understand what he means. He just wants to plead for Jason, but the root of the matter has never been Luna. Mistresses are shameful, and they are not worthy of pity even if they are despised by everyone. But the cheating man is the real source of sin. Without mistresses, there will still be mistresses. Once a man gets involved in sex, it is not so easy to quit. And I am not interested in being a shrew. In a blink of an eye, it was the day before I got the divorce certificate. I was packing my luggage at home, thinking about whether I should call Jason to remind him. I didn't expect that while I was still struggling, Jason came to my house, looking at me fiercely with anger. Did you send the photos of my cheating to my dad? I was confused. What? Still want to pretend? If you hadn't told my dad about my cheating, would he have had a heart attack at home? If Luna hadn't discovered it in time, the consequences would be disastrous. Only then did I understand what Jason was saying, and my face sank. I considered asking Jason's dad to help me persuade him, but because Jason's dad has a heart disease, I was afraid of irritating him, so I quickly gave up the idea. Jason, if you don't have a brain, you can go to the hospital. I'm a cardiologist. Do you think I would joke with the life of a patient? As soon as he finished speaking, Jason's fist hit the wall behind me, his eyes full of pain. Evelyn, you disappoint me so much this time. I didn't expect you to be such a person. Don't you just want a divorce? I'll help you. I'll be there on time tomorrow. Looking at Jason's back as he left, I lost the mood to explain a few more words. He couldn't listen to anything now. It's good this way. If he doesn't believe me, it's useless to say anything. At least this incident made him willing to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get a divorce certificate, which is a good thing for me. When I came out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I felt more relaxed than ever before. It was as if the big stone that had been weighing on my heart had finally disappeared. Jason, on the other hand, frowned the whole time. He was about to say something when his cell phone rang. Luna's anxious voice came from the other end of the phone. It seemed that something had happened with Jason's dad. Jason hung up the phone and left quickly. Before getting in the car, he looked up at me with a complicated expression. Evelyn, you should reflect on yourself recently. I will talk to you about our affairs later. The divorce certificate is in hand, what else is there to talk about? Looking at the direction where Jason's car left, I slowly said, Jason, goodbye. In the afternoon, I packed my things and boarded a plane to Germany. In Jason's eyes, I seemed to be in a bad mood all the time. He never understood me. I never looked back on the things I decided. After landing in Germany, the first thing I did was to change my mobile phone card. Except for my parents and a few close friends, I almost cut off contact with everyone in China. I devoted myself to Professor Li's experiment. Until today, 2 years later, my team and I are preparing to return to China with the latest research results. Before returning to China, I talked to Mia on the phone. Actually, there is one thing I haven't told you. Jason contacted me half a year after you left. I responded indifferently, so? This grandson, in order to find out your whereabouts, he knelt down in front of me in the company lobby. I was so scared that I called the police immediately and had them take him away. I raised my eyebrows. Is he so crazy? Now when I heard about Jason's story again, my heart was very calm, as if I was listening to the gossip of a stranger. Yeah, I also think it's crazy. Now I know I regret it. What did I do earlier? You are a cheating scumbag. Let's not talk about him, but I'm quite surprised that you haven't contacted me for so many years. Don't people say that the best way to forget a relationship is to invest in another new relationship? I laughed. You can't rely on others for this kind of thing, you can only rely on yourself. The most profound truth that Jason's story taught me is, a man's sincerity is the most unreliable thing. In reality, no one can save or heal your pain. In reality, no one can save or heal your pain. I can only find back the ground I lost by myself. If you really choose to be with another person in order to forget someone, it will be unfair to the later ones. I know that I will inevitably meet Jason when I go back. I didn't plan to avoid him deliberately. I just didn't expect to meet Jason at the first industry cocktail party I attended after returning to China. Jason was standing not far away at this time, looking at me with bloodshot eyes, as if he was about to cry in the next second. I was about to ignore him, but he pulled my wrist and walked outside. When we arrived at the garden, Jason hugged me in his arms and said, I'm sorry, countless times. I kept pushing him away. Finally, I couldn't help it and poured the red wine in my hand directly on his face. Are you awake? If not, I don't mind having the police drag you away. Jason wiped the wine off his face with his hands. He looked much more sober, but his expression was even more decadent. I know everything Luna did, including her texting you and my dad. I have kicked her out of town and she will never appear in our lives again. Evelyn, I was sorry for what happened to you before. I regret it very much. I chuckled. These things are no longer important to me. Because I don't love you, it doesn't matter. Jason looked at me with tears in his eyes. Evelyn, can you come back to me? I have never missed you for a moment in these years. I have always loved you. I looked at him coldly. Jason, don't forget, we are divorced. No, I don't really want to divorce you, I just want to scare you. In my heart, you will always be my wife. After saying that, Jason took out the necklace from his neck. It turned out to be the wedding ring I put on the dining table 2 years ago. Only then did I realize that Jason also wore our wedding ring on his ring finger. To be honest, it was quite disgusting. Jason, we ended 2 years ago. I hope you don't continue to pester me and make me look down on you. My words had no effect on Jason. Ever since he knew my whereabouts, he often appeared in my life. He called it chasing me again. I could chase you in college, and I can still chase you now. Evelyn, I will never let you go this time. I was furious. Do you think I will fall into the same trap twice? The first time I jumped, I can say that I was inexperienced. If I fall into the same trap again, I will be stupid. But no matter how I abused him, Jason refused to give up. I had no choice but to treat him as invisible and concentrate on my work. After all, we only had a few months to return to China this time, and we were very busy every day. In the next few days, Professor Li went to the hospital to perform surgery on a heart patient. The family of this patient made an appointment for a long time before Professor Li was invited. And the case was very special, so Professor Lee asked me to participate as an assistant. After 7 hours, from day to night, the operation was finally completed successfully. After coming out, Professor Lee just said a few words to the patient's family. The front suddenly became flustered. I heard that a family member was dissatisfied with the hospital's treatment and was ready to take revenge with a knife. We were about to evacuate when we saw the family member rushing towards us with a knife. I pushed Professor Lee away and prepared to give him a flying kick. Suddenly a figure hugged me tightly. It was Jason. I couldn't break free. The next second, the knife stabbed straight into Jason's back. It was already noon the next day when Jason woke up. He saw me sitting next to him and tried to smile comfortingly. "Evelyn, don't worry, I'm fine," I said coldly. "Jason, are you a fool? If it wasn't you, I could have kicked that lunatic away with one kick. I have been abroad for the past 2 years. Apart from doing experiments, I have spent all my time learning Sanda. On the one hand, it is to exercise my body. On the other hand, it is also because it is not as safe abroad as at home, which is conducive to protecting myself. According to the physique of the man yesterday, he is not my opponent at all. If it wasn't Jason, I would have subdued him long ago." After hearing what I said, Jason's expression became lonely again. "I'm just worried that you will get hurt." "No need, don't even think about asking me to give you another chance by using the injury. From the moment you said I was disgusting, it is impossible for us to be together again. So, if I tell you now that Luna and I have never had sex, you won't believe it, right?" Jason laughed at himself. "I didn't ask her out. I stopped at the last minute in the hotel. I couldn't go on because I thought of you. It's funny to think about it. I didn't explain to you at the beginning just because I was angry. I wanted you to bow your head once, even if it was just to say something nice to me, but you didn't do it once." Jason took out the key from his wallet. "The house you sold 2 years ago was actually bought by me. I couldn't bear to see it sold to someone else. I have lived there for the past 2 years. It is filled with all our good memories. Every time I see it, I think of you, as if you had never left." Jason couldn't help shedding tears while talking. This self-touching scene made me want to laugh. "Jason, you are really funny. You don't think that cheating only happens when you have physical intercourse, do you? I saw your hugs and kisses with my own eyes. You said you thought of me at the last moment. I don't feel touched. I just feel sick and want to vomit." After saying that, I stood up to leave, but Jason grabbed my sleeve. I heard his choking voice. "Is there really no chance for us?" I shook him off coldly. "Jason, let's part ways amicably. Don't make me regret falling in love with you." I left the ward without looking back. Behind me was the man's uncontrollable sobbing. In the next few days, I didn't go to the hospital to see Jason again. He had so many people around him, and he didn't need my care. Soon I went abroad again. On the plane, Professor Lee talked about the future plans. Several young people were crying and complaining that they had aged 10 years in a year and their hair was about to fall out. Professor Lee gave them a severe lecture. I laughed beside him, turned to look at the scenery in the distance. In the future, I will no longer be trapped by the limitations in front of me. What I yearn for is a freer and broader sky.